Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today we are on today's episode of the Real Estate Business Mastery Show with Debbie and Elizabeth. We are going to discuss wholesaling while you're doing your 9 to 5 and mastering processes. Stick around right after this word from our sponsors.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Skip Tracing, Think Multifamily, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeonaire.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the episode of the Real Estate Business Mastery Show with Debbie and Elizabeth. I'm your host, Elizabeth Navarrete with Houston REI Network, and we're super excited today because we are going to be discussing wholesaling while you're doing your 9 to 5 and how to master automation. So, Debbie, take it away.
So good to see you, Elizabeth, my amazing host. So again, guys, today we have a phenomenal guest. His name is Charles Nguyen. And you know, I'm sure when he comes on stage, he'll say it right. So, but he is a fantastic. So his background is more than 17 years in corporate America, and he was able to start his real estate business while still working a 9 to 5 job, probably more than 9 to 5. As a lot of us know. And but not only that, he's also going to share with us his superpowers around automation, systems, and team building. So that way you can implement that within your business, whether you're starting out your business right now or whether you're already at a point where you need to scale. So so with that being said, let's welcome Charles to the stage. So come on in, Charles. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So I do have to say, Charles is from Houston. I'm so proud to say that because obviously I come from Houston too. But the reason why we have him on the show today is because he's very humble. So I will say it for him. But he is one of the top wholesalers in Houston and has done amazing work and is very well known in our industry, very well respected. So we're really excited to have you here today. So thank you for joining us, Charles.
Well, I
It's
appreciate
a
you having
treat. It's a treat.
Yes, no, and I love it. And it's interesting because before we get started, I love how we met. So I know you've known Charles for a long time, right? But Charles, you and I met, a few months ago?
A few months ago, yeah. Here in Dallas.
Yes, here in Dallas. And by the way, thanks for driving in that weather.
Yes.
From Houston. So, but we met a few months ago at the sales training held by John Martinez, which is phenomenal. Which, by the way, if you guys have not checked out that training, you got to follow John Martinez, top sales trainer in our industry, you know, obviously for real estate, but quite frankly, the philosophies and everything that he teaches, you can utilize that in any industry that you're in. So definitely check that out. But that's where I met Charles.
Yes.
And then we connected because we have obviously a very similar background, being in IT, information technology, for those who don't know what IT means. And then I was so impressed by your story on how you were able to, you know, have a demanding IT job while still, you know, and then start your business, and then 3.5 years later, you took off being an investor full time. So so why don't you go ahead and share with our viewers a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
All right, absolutely. No, first of all, I appreciate what you guys are doing here at Propelio, and inviting people on and giving away a ton of content. As Elizabeth said earlier, I am a little bit humble, so it'll be a little difficult for me to talk about things, but I'm sure you guys will get it out of me, because I do want to add a ton of value to your audience. So a little bit of background on me. If you can't tell, I am Asian. So you can't tell from my last name or my looks that I am Asian. And the reason I say that is because growing up, I was what I would call a typical Asian kid. I did well in school. Had good grades, was really good in math. When I went to school, about the only thing I didn't do kind of Asian style was go be a doctor. So I went into IT instead. But I say that because my parents instilled, go to work, get a good job, and whatnot. So I did the corporate IT, and I spent probably 17 years there. doing corporate IT, doing a number of different things. And the last probably 13 years of that, I was working at investment banks. So then when I was at investment banking, then we worked long hours. I mean, I think, Debbie, you're probably familiar with that.
A little bit.
Yeah. So it wasn't a 9 to 5. It was probably more like a 7 to 7. And then you'll get a call in the middle of the night if something's going wrong.
That sounds accurate. That sounds close to what Debbie. Yeah, that sounds very. I'm not familiar with it, but I'm familiar with it through her. So yes, sounds accurate.
Okay, and then so I was doing that, and then I had a really good career there, and then at some point I wanted to kind of go look at different things, and then primarily it was around because of the amount of time spent away from a family and whatnot. Once I had kids, and I had to start thinking about I'm not really spending time with them. So I needed to go find something else, which would give me a little bit of time back. So that's when, and trust me, I looked at everything. I looked at franchises, I looked at businesses, and then somebody at the office said I should look at real estate. So then I looked at real estate, and then once I understood how people make money in real estate and what they're doing, I was like, okay, I gotta go look at that. So I jumped pretty hard into it, and instead of spending whatever it is, 80, 90 hours a week at the corporate office, then I started slotting some of that time off to actually start doing real estate. And then kind of the rest is history. I've been, after about 3.5 years, then I ended up leaving corporate America.
Wow.
So, thank you.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So definitely for your audience out there, my big thing is, I want to make sure everybody knows that it's possible.
Right.
No matter kind of what you're doing.
Absolutely. And so Charles, so walk us through that, right? So, when you first started in real estate, what was your first step? Like, how did you decide what you wanted to do, and walk us about, tell us more about your first deal, for instance.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, the first thing I had to do, and the thing I recommend everybody do when they're starting out, is go get educated. Go figure out how people make money in real estate. There's a lot of good content online, right? The Propelio provides a lot of content as well. So make sure you're looking at all your resources. I read a lot of books. I mean, I probably stayed up really late every night reading books, watching videos.
Yes. I mean,
yes, it doesn't change.
It's like once you become obsessed with real estate, it's an obsession, right? So it's like you eat, sleep, drink, everything real estate. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, on my way here, all I was listening to was either a podcast or watching YouTube videos online of different real estate events.
I love that. I love that.
So yeah, it doesn't stop.
Exactly.
But you're working on your own business, so that's the big thing. So I, like most people, I went to different seminars as well. I got coaching because for me, one of my big things was I just wanted to do it pretty fast because I'm coming from an investment banking background. We're aggressive in nature, so it's kind of we want to go. So I wanted to make it as fast as possible. And I wanted to minimize some of the mistakes.
Absolutely.
So in terms of my first deal, one thing I would tell all of your audience, a free way to get leads is to tell everybody you're getting into real estate. They will absolutely bring deals to you, right? So this one was actually one of my friends at work. Had a house, right? Typical vacant house, grass up to here in the summer, vacant. So then ended up going out to the house. Mind you, right, I've never bought and sold a house without a realtor before. I mean, honestly, I had no clue of how to write a contract, but I just knew it was a deal. So then ended up getting the house subject to, right? So for those of you who don't know what subject to is, basically taking over the mortgage, and then ended up on the backside selling it on a wrap. So sub 2 on the front end and owner finance wrap. I would say I don't know if I'd recommend that for anybody on their first deal because of everything that's involved. But I will tell you, I learned a lot from that deal. I learned more than a year's worth of education on that one deal. And every time I talk about subject twos, I like to tell people to make sure, if you don't know how to do it, make sure you get with someone who does. I mean, so my first deal, I don't know, you probably know Ray Sasser.
Yes.
Yeah, he helped me a ton during that deal.
Excellent.
But you get that first deal under your belt, then you start getting really excited and go and try to find the next deal and the next deal and the next deal. But you just always want to get that first deal under your belt, and once you do, that's generally the hardest one.
Sure. And I know we talked about subject to and the wrap. Can you give us for some of our viewers out there, a quick definition of what that wrap means?
Okay.
When you're
okay. Yeah. So I'll just use easy numbers to make it as an example. So suppose there's a house. Let's say the loan that's left on the house is $100,000. So what you do is basically take over the house. You take ownership of the house, but the loan stays in place. So the $100,000 loan stays there and still under the seller's name. So the way that helps you is you don't actually have to go get a loan. You're basically just using the loan that's there. And if you end up wrapping it, then you find another person who's going to actually buy the house. And let's just say you sell it for $130,000. So then you sell it on owner financing. You basically more or less become the bank for them, and then they pay you a certain amount of mortgage every month and a down payment, of course, and then you take that and you give part of that to whatever the underlying mortgage is, and then you keep the rest as your profit or as your difference.
Wow. So that's really interesting, Charles. And how about how can people protect themselves? So how do you protect yourself, right? When doing a deal like that, when you're combining subject to and then the wraps, what are some of the things that people should know and be aware of?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, because that's why I always tell people, make sure you know what you're doing, because you have to have all the right paperwork, all the right disclosures. Then one thing that always becomes an issue is the insurance. Yes. Because the insurance company is going to the mortgage company is going to start asking questions if the insured name changes. So for instance, you're going to want whatever entity you're holding it in to be named on the insurance policy, and the mortgage company is going to start asking questions. So it is something that you have to do to make sure you protect yourself. Not only protect yourself, but protect also whoever you bought the house from, and if you're going to wrap it, whoever you sold it to. Because the last thing you want to have happen is do something where you're going to impact all of these people.
Exactly. No, thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you. And I really appreciate that you made an emphasis on the fact that it's important to ask somebody that knows how to do something like this, and not, I understand that a lot of new investors want to get out there and want to be very savvy and creative, but within that there can be so many mistakes that can be made. So I love that you said, even though that was your first deal, but I'm sure even now, anything that comes up that's new, I'm sure you always reach out to somebody that has had that experience or has done that before, and that can guide you and help you along the way.
Oh, definitely. Anybody new, I tell people, find somebody in your market who's done it and ask them. Even if you got to give up part of the deal, do it, because it's just better in the long run.
Absolutely. I absolutely love that. And so transitioning, now I want to go back to from the very beginning, when you decided while you were in corporate America that you wanted to give real estate a try, and you did your first deal. You were still employed while you did your first deal, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So your first deal happened. What was next? What did Charles do next? And what can somebody that's out there listening to us, and they are in their cubicle right now with trying to hide from their boss, not letting them listen to this, or you're watching it on the replay. What guidance, or what does the transition look like from working and wholesaling, and then shifting down towards what is full on leaving the job?
Okay. I mean, would you kind of like me to walk through kind of just how I would advise people to do it, and then as you scale up? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
do want you to do that.
So I'll go ahead and do it in the whiteboard.
Okay.
And just before I do that, you mind if I talk to the audience directly for a second?
Please do.
Yes.
Okay. So First of all, I mean, I'm privileged to be in front of you. One of the things that I'd like to make sure that I do is set forward a framework for kind of the rest of what I'm going to talk about, because I think there's a couple of different types of people out there. One is people who are just getting started in real estate. One is people who are have a 9-to-5, and the other parts are people who may already have running businesses and they just want to scale a little bit more, learn a little bit more about automation. So in my framework, what I'm talking about is I just want to make sure you get as much as you can out of this as possible. So I'm just going to make a couple quick recommendations. If you're brand new, then focus a little bit on some of the things that how to get started. And then, keep in mind some of the things that are going to be a little bit more advanced, but make sure you focus on the things that the starting point. For those of you who have a 9-to-5 and already kind of doing this already, then my message to you is, I did it in 3.5 years. I think you can do it faster than I can. There's no reason you can't. For those of you who have been doing this for a while, then just listen to some of the things I guess throughout the rest of my chat, and hopefully you will definitely get some things that you can possibly incorporate in your business. So just one last thing. I'm big on accountability. So we're going to hold everybody accountable for certain things. One, I'll have to be accountable for delivering value. And these two ladies and everybody in the audience will have to hold me accountable, and at the end say either I added value or I didn't. These two ladies, what they're going to do is make sure I don't go off the rails, and they'll make sure I'm focused.
Okay.
And so for you in the audience, so it's going to be a little bit hard for us to actually hold you accountable. So here's what I would suggest is if you have a question, just make sure you ask it. Because I can tell you I know everything that I know, but I don't know what you want to know. I have an opinion on what I think you want to know, but if you want to know something, feel free to ask a question, because I'd rather you ask the question than not get an answer and you thinking about a question. The other thing I would suggest is, I'm probably going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Some of it will apply, some of it won't. But as you're taking notes, one thing I would suggest after we're done, or even towards when we're getting closer to being done, is you write down a couple things that you're actually going to go do, or a couple nuggets that you're going to take away from this and try and implement in your business. And the thing that I've found to hold people accountable, even myself, is if I say something publicly, even on a YouTube chat or whatnot, then it's more likely than I'm going to do it. So I highly suggest you go ahead and post it in whatever chat you are in right now, and then that way you'll hold yourself accountable.
I love that, Charles, and I call that social accountability.
Yes.
And it works. It's a way to trick myself. So so this is perfect. So why don't we go ahead, and I think we're ready for a break. So and then after we get back from the break, we'll get on the board. And guys, make sure, as Charles just mentioned, put your questions, put any comments out there. Make sure you give us some love, and then share with your friends, and then we'll be right back after the short break.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
For joining us today, we have Charles Nguyen talking to us about wholesaling while you're doing your 9-to-5 and how to systematize and scale your business. So now class is in session and Charles is on the whiteboard. Start taking notes, get your questions ready, because this is going to be fantastic.
Okay.
Take it away, Charles.
All right. So here's the first thing I would say. And let me make a couple of quick definitions. Number one, wholesaling. So what I'm going to define wholesaling is that if you're actively going out there and getting leads and trying to convert them into deals, whether you end up traditionally wholesaling them to another investor or you take it down as a rental, If you take it down as a rental, then I still consider yourself wholesaling. You're just wholesaling to yourself. So we're going to gear towards what it is a wholesaling business looks like. So the first thing, right, in reality, if you've got a wholesaling business, then really all you've got is a marketing, and I'll go over here, and sales business. When you boil it down, then that's what your business is. Can you go generate leads, and then can you convert the leads into deals? So the thing that's kind of in the middle is going to be all your systems and tools and whatnot. So I'm going to try and keep it simple, right? End of the day, in the middle, you've got a phone, and then you've got somewhere to keep records. But again, right, wholesaling, you really just got a marketing sales business. Everything else, these two are just tools. So when you're first starting, right, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things we can talk about marketing. If you're first starting out, I'll write the ones that are kind of free. So you can use Zillow, for sale by owners, Craigslist, driving for dollars, and I'll just quickly go through these real quick. So for sale by owner, Zillow, and Craigslist, that's basically you go to those websites and you pull down people who are already looking to sell their house. And these, right, they're already raising their hands saying they want to sell. So they're good to potentially target. Just keep in mind anything on the internet, people raising their hands, then they might have a lot of people targeting. But they're still free sources. The other thing is driving for dollars. This is basically you driving around in your car and looking for vacant houses. And then you find out who the owner is and try to contact them and basically try and get a deal that way. So when you're first starting out, right, let's just say you do driving for dollars. So the other things you're going to need, one is a phone. So for me, if you're starting out, then what I would suggest is you go get a Gmail account. Go to gmail.com and get a Gmail account. And then that way you can, one benefit of this is that you can get an email address that's specific for your business. And that way you can kind of segment business versus personal emails. The other thing that you can do with Gmail is get a Google Voice account. And what Google Voice is basically a system. It's tied to Google and Gmail, where you basically you get a phone number, and right, you can attach it to your phone and whatnot, but it's a separate phone number. That is really beneficial because if you ever, for whatever reason, need to turn off your phone number. For instance, one time I had a seller that wanted to text me every day at 3 in the morning consistently, repeatedly. So that's the first time and probably the last time I actually turned off my Google Voice, because I was like, and by turn it off, I just mean put it in do not disturb mode. You'll still know that somebody called, you'll still get voicemails and texts, it just won't ring your phone. So I highly advise that, and then run all of your calls through this Google Voice number. That way you can kind of keep things separate if you needed to. And then if down the road when you scale up and you don't want to take any calls anymore at all, then you can actually hand this number over to somebody. But if you're actually using your personal cell phone, it becomes a little bit harder. All right, so in terms of records, this is, I put records here because different people will understand it different ways. I just put records to be simple. This is basically where you're going to keep all your notes for your leads. Maybe I'll put notes here. So different things you can use here. I mean, as simple as a notepad. A notepad. I met a lady last week at an event where she ran probably $1 million wholesaling business last year off of notepads. Wow. So, so it can be done. And if you want this free, then chances are you could probably go to an event or whatnot, and they give out free notepads. So there's no excuse. You can get this for free. In terms of sales, so sales is going to be who's actually talking to the leads and closing. All right. In the beginning, that's more likely going to be you. I mean, it probably should be you, especially if you want to do it for free. Because, right, what cheaper and better resources out there but you, right? You're always going to do the best for your business. And, right, if you're not really paying yourself, then you're pretty cheap too. Okay, so this is what it would look like to me if you're first starting out. So as you can see, nothing on here actually costs any money, except for maybe driving for dollars gas money. But driving for dollars, it can be simple as if you're driving to and from work, driving to and from the grocery store, driving to and from church, just take a different route every time you go and check out which houses are vacant. Okay, so after you've done this for a while, and then you want to start expanding a little bit, and just before I go on a little bit further, my view, I probably wouldn't recommend people go do too much advanced stuff when they're beginning, just because you can go get the fanciest CRM, the fanciest call center, fanciest everything. But at the end of the day, if you don't kind of know how to run the business or do the business, then you're kind of wasting time and money, because putting in some of these other systems do take time and money. And if you don't have the expertise, then it's going to be more difficult. So this is what I would recommend when you're first starting. So as you start to scale up and things, and I'm just going to say, this is going to get, right, if you want to start scaling, as you start doing more business, then you could get to more of the paid things. So, for instance, I'm just going to throw out a couple things. Let's say for records, eventually, a notepad is good, but I'd recommend something electronically if you can. That way you can actually store it somewhere and, actually put it on the cloud so that you don't lose this information. Because I know when I first started, I used a notepad, and I would lose sticky notes everywhere. So that's just kind of like throwing away money. So at least use Excel or maybe even Google Sheets. Google Sheets is free if you got a Gmail account. Excel, most people have Excel on their computers, so that's practically free. Another thing that you could do, if you wanted to, is another free program called Streak, which is... This is a program that basically gives you a CRM, which is a customer relationship management system. It gives you a CRM that's based inside of Gmail. And if you wanted to do something where you're heavy in email, then you can use something like Streak. I know a big wholesaler out of Houston. He runs everything out of his email. So he can use something like Streak. I've played with it a little bit previously, but it just didn't fit the way I do business. I prefer not to get email. So I'd prefer to actually have a full-blown CRM system. So, as you kind of graduate, then these are kind of the free-ish tools. So now once you start doing a little bit more volume, then we can get to more of the paid stuff. So in terms of, let's talk about a phone system. So different phone systems you could use. The standard out there is CallRail. Let's see, Nextiva. There's others like Grasshopper. And Bumber. So these are going to be a little bit more advanced. I've got experience personally with CallRail and Nextiva. So CallRail is kind of the one that most people are out there using, where you're tracking inbound calls. So this becomes useful when you're doing multiple marketing channels. So for instance, if you've got direct mail going out, then you want direct mail to come to a different phone number than say if you're doing any telemarketing, then you want to separate those numbers. Also, if you want to know the difference between a yellow letter versus a postcard in your marketing, then you would use 2 different phone numbers where they can call in that. So CallRail can help you with that. Nextiva's also just a good phone system. I think we'll talk a little more, but as you start scaling and you have other people on your team, especially people from overseas, then Nextiva is a good way to do voice over IP. So, you can have your virtual assistant have a Nextiva line, and they can make calls just like they're in the US. The nice thing about something like Nextiva is it actually records all the calls. So if you need to go back and do an audit, which I recommend you do periodically, go back and check those voicemails or check those messages, the recordings, so that you can see how they're doing and provide coaching and feedback. All right, so we'll talk a little bit more about, let's talk about sales, actually, because the other thing I want to highlight is as you start scaling and adding some of these paid services, then one of the things you're going to always be looking at is who do you hire next? And I can tell you kind of in my business, the first person I hired, because this was me for the longest time, and then the next person I hired was a lead manager. Because one of my biggest issues was I can get the phone to ring, but then I've got a 9 to 5, so there's only so many hours of the day that I actually had to make calls. So for instance, somebody called in and left a message or whatnot, then I had lunchtime. I tried not to take too many breaks to actually take the calls, and then times in the evening and the weekends. So for me, my decision was a lead manager. What this person did for me when I hired them was they were on the phone 40 hours a week, pretty much. They're calling all the leads that are coming in, and they're also doing follow-ups on all of the other leads that are coming in. And in the beginning, if this person isn't very busy, then you can have them do some administrative tasks as well. Because I know in the beginning, as she was ramping up, then I had her do some other tasks for me that were just kind of more administrative, not necessarily lead management, but nonetheless they took things off of my plate.
Right.
So don't be afraid to have people do multiple things, but as soon as you can have them do one thing full time, then that's just much better.
Charles, can I ask you something?
Yep.
With the lead manager, how do you compensate that person?
Okay, so that's a good question because one of the things I'll highlight is, right, I hired this person when I was in corporate America. So everybody has a couple of different options, I think. One is you go through a service, right? A VA, there's plenty of VA services out there that'll help you. The other thing you could do is go out there and hire a freelancer. So there's the differences between the two are the freelancer, you're going to have to go find them, you're going to have to train them, and you're going to have to kind of manage everything for them. I decided to go with a VA service. Did I pay a little bit more? Yes. Looking back, I'd do it again all day long because what they did is provide infrastructure, meaning they made sure the VA showed up every day, clocked in, clocked out. They also provided training. They've got a staff of other VAs so they can go ask the small questions too. They've also come trained with real estate, but the one thing I will say, right, every VA service will say, yes, they're real estate trained, but most of that just means, they've watched 40 hours of videos, which is better than somebody coming off the street, but you're still gonna have to train the VA to do whatever you want, the way you want in your business. So if you're looking for a VA and you got a full-time job, all right, and if you got the time, then hiring your own is an option. But for me, it kind of wasn't because time was more of an issue for me.
I have one quick question myself. Going to marketing, so you named the first 4 things you could do when you're starting off, which are free. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're scaling up, so what leads me to believe is that mainly your marketing was you sending out mailers, right? Correct? So now, are you currently, when you're scaling up, do you still find mailers to be effective? And if so, then what would be the services that you would implement as a paid? So we're no longer going to be using Zillow or Fizbo or Craigslist. How do you scale up in that aspect with the marketing?
Oh, so with marketing. Okay.
Yes.
So that's a good question. I mean, what I've done in terms of that is obviously direct mail is a really good source of leads. I will say, right, in the Houston market, it's become a bit more saturated, so it is a lot harder to get direct mail leads and deals just because there's so many people. And I'm not going to tell anybody don't market. I'll just tell you direct mail is a little bit harder, but I know some people are out there absolutely crushing it with direct mail still. But those are a little bit harder to find. You just have to go to more niche lists and whatnot. So the other things you can look at is, you can do SEO. You can do pay-per-click. You can do I'll call them marketing signs because bandit signs sound too illegal.
They do.
Marketing signs. You can do telemarketing.
And I will tell you this, Charles, talking to several people in other markets, in particular the Miami market, in particular the Phoenix market, they're saying that the direct mail is pretty much obsolete. So they're going more off of the telemarketing, which is the cold calling. That's where you're seeing more of on a nationwide level, you're seeing that to be more accurate. Would you say that that's... Have you seen that to be a trend as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The majority of the people that I've talked to nationwide, they'll all say direct mail has kind of been a bit low. There are a couple people that just still say direct mail is good. I'm a firm believer of, long-term direct mail might be longevity-wise, if you could figure that out, that's consistent. But in the market today, then you just got to go adjust and go with what works. Okay. I think in the real estate market, you just have to be very nimble. And you see something, if you see something that's working, you just need to double down, triple down, throw the house at it if it's working, because it might not work again 5 months later. So do it while you can. Just in terms of costs, some of these things, SEO is a little bit of a hard one. I've been fortunate that, I've been able to rank some sites pretty well. What I would tell people, SEO is much of a longer term play. Don't expect SEO to happen overnight. PPC can happen overnight. It's just a matter of whether or not you can actually get it to the right cost per lead. So, every click might, in Houston, it might cost $100 for every click. So can you get enough clicks and conversions to make it work?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So Charles, so now tell us how, I know, I think I mentioned earlier, your superpowers, your automation, systemizing, and team building.
Yes.
So how do you, and I know that you mentioned that you were able to automate a large portion of your business while you were still working a full-time job. So can you walk us through that whole process and what that looks like, and and to where you're at right now?
Okay.
And go from there, I guess.
Okay. All right. So let me just add one more piece here that we didn't write, and I'll put CRM up here. Yeah. And this is basically, there's different options for you. I'm big into Propelio. There's some other ones out there. I've used Zoho before, but honestly, as soon as I saw a demo of what Propelio did, then I just hopped off of Zoho and went to Propelio. I think there's probably Freedom Soft out there too. There might be a couple
Pro too, right? REI Pro.
Yeah, REI Pro. I don't know enough about these to kind of.
A lot of people tend to gravitate towards Propelio.
Yeah, a ton of people gravitate to Propelio. So what you can do in systems like Propelio is you can automate a lot of your business. So And I'll just walk you through a quick example of what I did once. Is a couple years ago, I was at a seminar in Florida, and through the website, somebody submitted a website form probably at 3 or 4 in the morning, and then in the morning when I talked to the seller, then I talked to them a little bit, and I think they wanted probably 125, and basically said, no, I mean I'm not close to that, but I'll go ahead and submit an offer to you. So what I did from my phone is actually put together an offer and actually create the offer and send it to her all from my phone. And that took all of probably about a minute for me to do in my phone. So if you've got a system that can automate it, then that's what you can do. And you can do a lot of pretty much everything, almost everything you want out of if you got the right person to help automate it.
Okay, very good. I think that the next part that we want to definitely focus on is the sales aspect, building your team. So from your lead manager, what would be the next ones? But before we do that, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please make sure to like, comment, share, ask any and every question you can think of. This is the time to do so. This is the perfect person to ask because he's actually been able to scale on his own doing this, and he's sharing it, breaking it down to you step by step. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at Propelio.com.
Welcome everybody, and right before break, Charles was walking us through a fantastic way on how you can start your business, and then we started talking about how you can continue to scale your business. And so now we're going to hand it over to Charles again to then discuss a little bit more about the sales aspect of your business.
Okay. So, and I think right before break, you were asking kind of also about the sales process. So the next person I would hire is an acquisition agent. So this is the person who actually does a lot of the closings. And actually, if your business model is to go out to the house, then this person would actually go out to the house and secure the contracts. Because the one thing you'll start to realize is that, especially in Houston, every time you go to a house, I always say it's going to take 3 hours out of your day. Between the time you drive, the time you spend at the house, and the time you drive back, then it's pretty much half your day, or I should say that's not really half a day because we work a lot more than that. But that's a good chunk of your day, and if you run into traffic, then that's even worse. But these acquisition agents will actually go out to the houses and actually get the deals for you. Because in order to really scale, then you've got to have people who can go to these houses and actually put them under contract. Because otherwise you'll spend most of your time in cars kind of chasing leads.
That leads me to a question real quick. So let's say that your business model is doing, for example, the cold calling, and then you have the lead from the cold calling. Do you automatically, yourself or your team, do you make an offer over the phone? Or is your business model more like sending your acquisitions agent out to the property currently?
Yeah, so historically, it was most of the time going out to the houses. And then if it was out of the area, then it was closing over the phone. So I mean, I probably I think even my second deal I actually closed over the phone, but it was in the area. Only there was extenuating circumstances why I did that, but from there I realized it's okay to make offers over the phone. So if anybody's scared to make an offer without having seen the house, you just have to get comfortable with that. Now, one of the things I'm transitioning a little bit more to is actually closing over the phone, because we don't have to spend as much time going out to houses, because I would probably always tell you, if you go out to a house, you more than likely get a better deal, but your volume of deals that you can make will probably be a little bit smaller, because you're out there going out to every single appointment. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, you base it off of feel as well. Some folks, I know some people in the past, even for me, have been, well, they want me to actually go out to the house. So in those cases, it's either you go out to the house or you give up on that lead. And for the most part, we'll just go out to the house.
Mm-hmm. Now, Charles, another thing is your acquisition agents, and I think I'm going to continue asking about compensation. Mm-hmm. So how did you decide to pay your acquisitions agent? And also, did that person, or currently within your business, do you prefer for them to be licensed? Because I know certain states require you to be licensed if they're not working under your company. If they're working on their own company, then you don't. So tell us more about how you run your business.
Okay, so the way I run, nobody's actually licensed in what I do. I've debated whether to get licensed myself or not, and the debate has always ended with, I'm probably not going to get it right now. Mm-hmm. I might look at it again later, but for me right now, it probably is a little bit just easier for me right now not to. And nothing wrong with agents. Nothing wrong with agents. It's just you've got to do a little bit more in terms of disclosures and just the things that you can't do. Not that I would do anything crazy, but I just don't want to have being a real estate agent wouldn't benefit me very much right now. Mm-hmm. So in terms of compensations, there's different models that we've come through. You can pay an acquisition agent a percentage of the deal. What I've found is those folks who just want a percentage, those are kind of the hardcore sales guys, right? Because they've got to be confident that they're going to go make it, all right? Because if they don't close anything, then they're not going to make any money that week. Also, the other model is to actually pay per month, pay whatever it is, $2,000 or $3,000 a month, in that range, $2,300 a month, $3,000 a month, and then pay a smaller commission on the backside. That makes some people a little bit more comfortable because they know that at least they can pay the rent and have food on the table.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. Okay.
So from your acquisition agent, how many, do you have one or do you have several? Do they also do dispositions, or do you also add a disposition agent?
So my model works probably a little different than some other people, and which is one thing I'd recommend to, especially anybody who's kind of starting out, is because I have no problems doing joint ventures with other people. Especially if you're in corporate, because I know I did that when I was in corporate. I went out to some houses. Then the one thing that always got me was, I'd pay a bunch of money for PPC or SEO leads, and then next thing you know, I couldn't get to a house until 5 days later. Then I call the seller to confirm, and then they tell me they already signed the contract with someone else. And that happened kind of a couple times, and then I started to realize I just can't make it to every house, especially with a full-time job. So then I started actually reaching out to just friends who I know were good wholesalers, and so then we just started JVing on a lot of deals. That is an absolutely phenomenal way to kind of help, because my problem was, I could generate leads, but I couldn't get there fast enough, especially internet lead. It's like, you got to drop everything and you go. Right.
Yeah.
So with that, that's what I would advise, especially when you're starting out. If you need to, JV with people.
Absolutely. And I love that, because actually the study shows that the longer you take, as soon as the lead comes in, the longer you take to get back to that lead, the less chances you're going to get in order, to get that deal locked down. So I think it literally, if you do not call within the first 5 minutes, your chances drop dramatically.
Right.
And so I love that you said that.
Oh, yeah.
And I also agree with the whole JVing part, especially when somebody's working a full-time job. You said it earlier, don't be greedy. It's like I always say, don't be greedy when you start, don't be greedy when you make it, right? So it's, if you're able to pay for the marketing, which sounds kind of familiar, right? Yeah. And I love that because, it's a win-win situation, not just for you too, but also for the seller, right? Because at the end of the day, you're helping somebody get out of a situation, and then that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So kind of, back to your question though, right? So we get kind of one person who does acquisitions. And right now they kind of also help out with dispositions. But even in the last probably month, the one thing I've been focusing on is scaling. And definitely, because I went to the Rafael Vargas event, and then from there it's kind of just like, you just gotta blow it out and get a lot more people into the business or in the business. So I'm right now actively trying to get more people interviewed, because I spent part of the day yesterday interviewing, so scaling up the team. So to answer your question, would you have them do both? If you have enough people, then have them separated, right? But in the beginning, they might be doing both.
Mm-hmm. And so, going off of what you just mentioned, that you went to the Vargas training. So, just to kind of pick a little bit on what you've picked up from there.
Right.
What are you? Who are you? What is your team looking like, or what do you foresee? What's your vision for your team in the next 3 months?
So in the next 3 months, I'm in hyper growth mode. So I would probably envision acquisition agents, hopefully 3 to 5, and then disposition agent, it might be 1 to 2. I don't know yet. It'll probably be bring people in, and then, I'm a big fan of just pile it in and then see what happens, and then kind of fix it from there. All right.
Are you adding cold callers too, or no?
The plan is to add cold calling as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a really good source of leads.
Yes, it is very good.
Yeah, it's just as long as the problem is, don't scale too fast, because the more you add on, then the more complications it's going to be. I'm a big fan. Well, I say that, but I also am the fan of just pile on what you can, and then see what breaks, and then you go fix that. So for instance, not one time, one of my phone providers, which wasn't on this list, shut me down. So, you got a lot of marketing going out. You just want to make sure you're working with proper companies.
Correct.
Right? I don't think you'll go wrong with any one of these, but there was a reason I went with another one, but now I know.
Right, right. And if your call company shuts you down, that's a loss. That's huge right there.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay.
And one thing that now that we're in the acquisition part of things, Charles, like you and I, we met at John Martinez's training, and I absolutely love John Martinez's trainings. But one thing that I know that he mentioned is when you have your acquisitions agent, a good way to motivate them to get the deepest discounts, for the properties that you're buying, is to make sure that your acquisition agent is not running the comps. So to separate maybe like the lead manager or whoever else, do the comps, and then have your acquisitions person then go and negotiate the deal without knowing the actual comps. So that's a very, obviously he can explain it way better than I can.
Yeah.
But for those of you out there, definitely check out John Martinez as well on how you can leverage, lead managers, acquisition agents, and disposition agents within your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree with that. I mean, because sometimes if you put a number, if if you have someone who's really good at comps and they can run comps and give you a number, then then the acquisition guys can focus on the other things.
Exactly.
'Cause sometimes acquisition guys may or may not be able to say, okay, this was, it's only a three bed or whatever. Here's the square footage, or it's got an add-on. They may not. With the number of salespeople you have, you may not be able to train them all the way you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're getting instruction that we're ready for questions. Are you ready to take on some
sure.
questions from
Yeah.
our audience?
All right. And feel free to sit down if you like.
Right.
Okay.
If you want to sit down or
Yes.
keep writing up there, not a problem.
Whatever they want.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So while we get those, or we have one first. Okay, so Matt, let's see. Oh, that's okay. I hope I don't butcher the name. Percy Yarleke. She asks, I'm at the lead manager part, but I'm seeing that she's not converting. What do you focus on training, incentive, pay, etc.?
So the one thing I would probably say is the lead manager the proper person to do closing? Right? If your lead manager is really someone who's just qualifying leads, then do you want that person actually doing the closing? Because kind of in my business, then my lead manager, she generally will not close because that's not what she was trained on, and maybe not her skill set. Her skill set is to go nurture a lead, whereas an acquisition agent, that's who you really want converting. And then you've got to make a decision whether you want an acquisition agent to actually do the lead management, or you want a lead manager to qualify the leads and hand acquisition agents the hot leads. And different people run different models. I'm always of the opinion, if you can get just one person talking to them, then that's always better, like get an acquisition guy person to talk to them. But if you run the risk of burning them out with a bunch of unqualified leads.
Exactly. Great question. All right, so we've got another question. Lindy Lee, we just print out the track contract and send them the offer since a lot of older people don't use much email.
Okay. Yeah. So can you? So I guess is the question how to handle people who are older. So you've got a couple of options. I mean, in my Podio setup, then I can actually mail an offer as well automatically with a couple clicks of a button. If it's a really hot deal, then though I'd probably go send somebody. Send somebody. I mean, and if you're even if you got to do something like hire a notary to go take it out, right? Whatever it is, $150 to go get a contract signed, then by all means, go do it. Notaries are used to go and print out documents and go and have people sign them.
Good idea.
Absolutely. Simon Nguyen, can you name 3 to 5 ways you automate?
Okay. What's up, Simon?
Simon.
5 ways you can automate. So, let me think about this a little bit. So, one, you can obviously automate all of the contracts, creation and sending out. Another thing, which I actually was working on. First of all, I'm an IT guy. I don't recommend people doing their own Podio systems because then you end up being in situations like me where sometimes I spend too much time doing the geeky stuff when I should be working on the business.
I can relate.
So one of the things put in recently was getting different price estimates automatically into the Podio system, getting also county information and things like that as well. You can also automate kind of emails going out. And I know one thing we've talked about is, how to kind of nurture a lead, or how do you do follow-ups. So kind of in my system, then all of the follow-ups are automated as well. So every lead will get, texts, voicemails, as well as emails.
Awesome. No,
Very
thank
good.
you. All right, a question from Matt Smith. Is there a specific thing to say to close on the phone?
Oh, wow. That's probably a 3-hour discussion. Honestly, I mean, just the quick answer will be, close closing on the phone requires you to build trust and rapport relatively quickly. And you got to be able to do it quick and speak with confidence and be able to, close on the phone. I mean, the thing I've been, anybody who's been around me for a while has heard me say, just be able to close in 7 minutes or less. Mm-hmm. Or in 7 minutes, you need to know if you're in or you're out. But in terms of a script, it's probably a longer discussion than we got here.
Right, right.
And I do, to add to that, I know that, again, I keep going back to John Martinez, and I think it's because we have this connection.
You have that connection with him, right.
With us being there. One of the things is that he talks about is go negative on people, right? So
reverse psychology,
exactly.
Right?
It's like, you know what, I really don't think you're going to like this offer. I feel really bad even telling you this. And then that's what people are going to be like, no, well, tell me, what do you think? And so anyway, it's just different ways. But like Charles said, it's definitely a longer conversation, but go ahead and check it out.
Landy Lee from Houston. Hey, Landy, thank you for watching. She's a great friend of the show. Why did your call company shut you down?
Hey, Landy. All right. So they sent me an email and said, okay, well, I didn't know I was shut down. And it was like, okay, there's no calls coming in. So then I'm like, okay, well, let me email them, see what's going on. And then they basically sent me a canned response that says, okay, you've been shut down. Talk to our legal team. At that point, I kind of just said, okay, I'm not going to ask anymore of what was going on. My guess was it was just volume. And the thing was, what I was trying to do was, this is the geeky IT guy in me, right? I put together a little cob system where my call system was practically free. But it was a little web of different things. But my point in telling you that is don't do that. Just go use a proper service.
Yeah. Don't try to outsmart that paid service, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got lots of questions.
We do. Okay.
So,
Percy Yarleke, how did you hire your acquisitions agent and what do you look for? And adding on to that, I want to add more to that. Do you use a personality test? Because a lot of people that come on the show say it repetitively, like the DISC, and there's so many. So adding on to Percy's question. Great question, by the way, Percy. Sorry to log on.
No problem. So, there's a lot of different services out there that will help you find acquisition folks. I will tell you, right, it is a rather difficult process. Because hiring to me is one of the most important things you do in your business. Because your business is basically, right, we're talking about marketing and sales, right? You got to know how to market, and then you got to know how to sell. So that sales requires people, and you just got to hire right. There's services out there that will help you. Because I'm going through that, we're going through that process right now, trying to staff up. Yes, give different personality tests, right? There's a ton of them out there that you can use, right? There's DISC, predictive index is good, Colby's good. I'd say give them all the tests and figure out which ones kind of fit for you, right? There's some, really good tests, and basically these personality tests will kind of tell you what a person is how they're going to be when they come in. So you kind of have an idea.
Mm-hmm. And what fit would be right for them.
Yeah.
Because if they're one to build rapport and be that kind of person, you'd want to put them in a certain position. The closers, you want to put them in a different position.
Exactly.
And you don't want to do the reverse. If not, they're just not going to thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to add to that is one thing is sometimes obviously you're going to make the wrong hiring decision, no matter how much due diligence you do. So I always say just learn how to fire quickly as well, or also identify what other areas, to your point, can that person then be good at and excel at, right?
Yeah.
Just because they're not good at that particular role that you first hired them, then figure out if they have that energy in the belly or whatever, that fire in the belly kind of thing, and they're committed to your company and to adding value, then figure out if there's a position in your company to put them in, and if not, then learn how to fire quickly.
Oh, absolutely. I'm big on people because I mean I just look back to my corporate career. I've had some really good teams working for me. I mean, phenomenal people, and as a group we did a whole ton of stuff. And I mean I won't take credit for everything. It was purely the people who were doing it. So they'll help drive the bus. Same thing with the organization we're trying to build right now, and kind of what we're doing. It's we want to build a fun culture where people are going to enjoy coming to work. Keep it lively and people excited. Because acquisitions, it's I won't say it's kind of like the Wall Street vibe, but kind of like that from a hunger perspective. But you want to keep it lively because people are the biggest things for you.
Oh my gosh, I love that you said that, and I love the culture piece because culture is everything in a business, in a company, whether you're small, medium, or large. And one of the things is also in terms of hiring and firing is don't be afraid to fire your best people if they're not contributing to your company's culture. So again, that's going to be very poisonous for the team. To your point, you need to make sure that you maintain that lively, that positive energy in the company. And even if it's your best acquisitions person, if it's your best closer, it doesn't matter. Fire them and then get somebody else in.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan of one thing I've definitely learned in my corporate career is you don't want to have that bad seed poison the rest of your basket. So you want to address whatever issue it is immediately. And sometimes it might just be a circumstance or fit issue. Maybe this person is going through something and might be better suited for something else down the road, right? Because every time in my life, anytime I've let anybody go, even if they weren't a high performer, me personally, I feel bad.
Oh, yeah.
I'll try to give everybody every opportunity to kind of find another role, but sometimes, you just gotta do it. Not only is it hampering you and your team, but it might be hampering that person as well.
Absolutely.
And going off of the culture and within your business, what is your take on loyalty, creating that loyalty from the people that you're hiring in your team? How do you create that within your company, the people you hire?
Yeah, so let me answer it from how I did it in corporate, because that's going to be exactly the same how it's done, right? You want to build inclusion, right, where everybody's included, and you want people to have kind of a vested interest in kind of some of the decision making that's going on, right? And it's always kind of being an open culture where, one thing I tell everyone, even like virtual assistants, I'm like, tell me how to make this better. Tell me how to make it better. Tell me what I can do to make things easier for you, right? Is this working? Is this not working, right? Because I can tell you, there was some, in the corporate world, I managed a lot of people overseas, even, in India, where it was traditionally a lot of turnover. In my groups, I had people to stay there for years, because first thing I did when I came in was like, okay, I want your feedback because I want you to own it, right? And same thing in the real estate business here. All right, you own it. I'm happy for you to, you give them basically freedom to kind of do things so that they own it. And then, if something goes wrong, then okay, correct it, and then just let them have ownership so they feel that, it's their puppy.
Right.
Right?
I like that a lot. Inclusion, that's key. Reginald Circle, do you use virtual assistants? If so, where do you source your VAs from? Golden Nugget reference.
Okay, so I'll give you a couple places. One is Mod. I think it's My Mod. Ivis is another one, and I think Riva. And here's what I'll tell you. The same thing I told earlier is right. They will always say they come pre-trained in real estate, that they're experts in real estate, but you're going to have to train them to do exactly what you want. Don't be afraid to interview multiple ones of them, and don't be afraid to tell whoever your recruiter is to send them all back and get you more, because it's your business. You need to make sure that you get the person you need, right? The other quick tip I'll probably give you is, right, if you already have virtual assistants, then ask them if they have friends who are looking for jobs. Not only that, but you got to ask them, would you want to hire this person if it's going to impact your bonuses and your pay, right? Because they can go, obviously you only want to ask people, the VAs that you have trust with, but that's another really good source as well.
That's an excellent way of getting a referral.
Absolutely. And we've got one more question. Landy Lee, thanks so much for asking so many questions. This is great. What you look at? Okay, sorry guys. I'm like, okay. What you look at the pros and cons of hiring a VA in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. Okay, so what are the pros and cons of hiring a VA outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, so I mean that's a really good question, Landy. I mean the biggest thing is probably going to be cost in the U.S. Cost is undoubtedly probably going to be higher, but the quality theoretically should be better because it's a Native American speaking or Native U.S. American speaking person. The one thing that I think, and I don't have any experience with this, so I'll just tell you what I think might happen or what my opinion might be, is that if you get a good virtual assistant overseas, I'm talking about a good one, then the chances of them missing work is much lower than potentially someone in the U.S. And that's just, right, I'm just basing that off of my gut feel, but I would imagine that that would probably be the case.
You're absolutely right.
Right?
You're absolutely right on that one.
Yeah. And Charles, before we go into our final thoughts and close out the show, I would like to know, besides real estate and being IT and all that, because that's always going to stay with us, right? I'm a geek for life. So, what do you do for fun?
Oh, so what do I do for fun? So, I've got a wife and 2 kids. Aww. So, I think a lot of people in Houston know me for we're always going to Disney World. So. My kids love Disney, so we're actually probably going there again this summer. So we like to travel. I'm also, me personally, I'm also a big college football fan. So on Saturdays you'll probably catch me, watching a game or 2 or 3 every Saturday. But then the rest of the year I'll work on Saturdays.
Right.
Yeah, I'm bummed because I thought you were going to say that what do you do for fun is keep creating your CRM and adding to it. I think that's a fun thing that you do, right?
Is,
too.
It is.
Maybe what you're watching secretly, I think, right?
Yeah. No, I'll do that. Yeah. I mean, I do have fun when I do it, because I was doing a little tinkering yesterday, and it was fun. I won't lie, because I missed some of the IT stuff.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I was talking to some IT folks this morning. They called to actually ask my opinion about something. So I was like, okay, they got me back into that world.
Right.
And I think I know who that may be too.
Okay.
That's funny.
Oh,
yeah. I won't say.
Yeah.
Charles, how could for those of you, if we did not get back to your answers or to your questions, Charles will definitely go back and make sure that he reaches out. But how can people get a hold of you? How can people help you? Anything that you want to give a shout out.
Okay. I mean, for me, the best way to get a hold of me, email is not really good for me because can I drop one quick tip?
Please.
If you get as much email as me, one thing I've done, and I just want to publish this out there so everybody understands why I don't respond, is if it has the word unsubscribe in the email, it's automatically getting filtered out. So if you by chance forward me an email that has unsubscribe on it, then that's probably why I didn't respond.
Good one.
Good to know.
But that clears out my mailbox tremendously. So the best way to get a hold of me, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me also on Instagram. I think my handle, apologies, I created this literally at We Live because I was sitting with people and you need to create an Instagram right now. So it's at Best Real Charles. Yes, at Best Real Charles. It won't have a picture of me. It'll have a picture of my 2 kids. So that's the best way to probably get a hold of me.
We'll add your Instagram handle on the comments of the show, and Facebook through the tag on the show as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They can tag me on there.
Very good. So we won't. What about your company, through your company name, or you just keep that separate from outside of social media?
It's good.
You know, I wanted to say that, and I know we're supposed to be wrapping up. We've gone a little bit over time, but this is huge because a lot of people, I see it on Facebook. I hear it at seminars. I hear people getting on stage and saying this, and I have a conflicting issue with this. And I love the fact that you don't do this. Is the fact that Charles, you will not see Charles posting that he's at a closing. You will not see Charles walking a property. You won't see Charles posting a check. You won't, and it's because Charles is actually working to create a huge company, to do something big with the community. And I think that it's either you're doing that or you're spending time on Facebook documenting every step that you make. And that's the conflict. Yes, it's great that people see that you're doing stuff, but you're either doing that. I mean, to me, it's like I'd have to have another 2 sets of hands to be able to document everything, every step I'm doing. So I actually do commend you for that because I know that you're not messing around. You're actually serious about your business. You're a serious entrepreneur, and I respect you for that. And I thank you for setting that example because we get so bogged down that we have to put everything on social media. And I mean, I'm going to say publicly, I don't necessarily agree that every single step that we make, you just can't because you're not doing your thing seriously. It's so distracting. But we can have that on another show if you guys want to discuss. And with that being said, also Charles, tell us about your meetup because you have. I know you like to keep it quiet. Charles has this amazing meetup, which I need to make it too. I've heard really wonderful things, but tell us a little bit about how can we locate where and when your meetups will take place.
Okay, so we're running a meetup usually monthly. The date kind of varies a little bit, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, people have harassed me about keeping it on a specific date, but my response to them is kind of, not that I'm being arrogant or anything, but it's kind of like, well, it revolves around my kid's schedule, my wife's schedule, and Ray's schedule. So between all of that, then we end up picking a date. So if you want to find us, you can find us at Houston Real Deal. So I think you can go to probably Google us at Houston Real Deal. We meet once a month, and I would call us probably low key. I mean, I think are the biggest meetup group in terms of member base in Houston, but we're probably the biggest one you've never heard of because a lot of it is word of mouth.
It is.
And a lot of people that come are repeat attendees because our goal over there, what we do is we talk a lot about deal making. It's how do you go get a deal. We don't talk as much after you've actually acquired a property. It's all about how do you get to the point where you're getting a deal done, And just kind of piggyback on your comment about social media and whatnot. I mean, I know, right? Here's the thing, and I told someone else this over the weekend because here's what he struck me as. Right, I was talking to him about his business, and he said, I feel like I'm an underdog. And he went on for a little while, and then after he stopped, I said, okay, tell me why you said the word underdog. And he said, well, I don't feel like I'm doing enough because I see all these other people doing a lot more deals. So here's the same thing I told him, I'll tell the audience is, don't necessarily worry about what this person or that person is doing. Focus kind of on your business. If you see somebody doing very well, then my first thought is, okay, great, they're killing it, right? And don't necessarily use them, but use whatever threshold that they've got. Let's just say they're doing I don't know how many Donnie's doing, but let's just say one of those guys, let's say doing 30 deals a month, right? And they're posting they're doing 30 deals a month. Okay, then just say, hey, my threshold or what I want to hit is 30 deals a month, and then let that be something you want to target, not necessarily because of that person's post or whatnot, but just use it as inspiration. right? Because a whole lot of stuff happens on social media that may or may not be true. But just focus on using those things as benchmarks. Because I know that's kind of what I do with different things as well. I see somebody who's really successful, then I'm like, okay, great. I mean, I'm very grateful that they're able to do that. That's something that I'd like to get to, but don't let it get you down. And the last thing I told him was, enjoy the process. Because, right, I mean, this guy has been in real estate probably for about 1.5 years. I told him, look, you're in real estate 1.5 years. Yeah, quit your job probably 7, if not 8 months ago, and you're still in real estate and you're still doing deals. Be happy about that. Be grateful, and then just keep on plugging. All right. I mean, I know, like me and my business. Last year I purposely scaled down a little bit because I didn't want employees. I didn't want them, but now I'm in hyper growth mode. So it's like I want to build a machine, right? And I want if anybody's out there is interested, then let me know. I mean, I want to build a fun culture and kind of what the business that we're going to build, and I just want to have fun. If anybody's interested in that, let me know. I'm also, another thing is that I've found it hard, and I don't know if anybody else out there has ideas, is, if there's any realtors that are actually looking for leads that are kind of realtor based, then I'd be more than happy to talk to you as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Charles. I truly appreciate the time that you've given us today. It's been amazing. If you loved the show, if you liked it, if you got value out of it, let us know. And we may be bringing Charles very soon again to do another show, because I think he brought a lot of value to us on this day. Anything else you want to add, Debbie, before we close out?
Thank you very much, Charles.
Do the homework.
Thank you. Yes, do the homework. Keep plugging away.
Yeah.
Don't compare your business where you're at from somebody else that probably been doing this longer or probably has more time to do it than you. Like Charles said, keep plugging away, keep at it. And with that, we would love to have you at the Propelio event. May 14th is going to be in Grapevine, free entrance, free Chick-fil-A, free open bar. Anyone and everyone that's interested in just making some power moves in real estate, come to the event. It's one of the biggest events in all of Texas, and it would be great to have all of you there. Also, don't forget to go to Propelio.com for your lead generation, CMAs, Driving for Dollars app, and the Propelio Academy, which is free REI content all day, every day, from deal structuring to wholesaling to subject to. Anything and everything real estate investing is on that educational library, electronic educational library. And with that being said, thank you for watching our show. We are the Real Estate Business Mastery Show with Debbie and Elizabeth. We thank you for watching, and stay tuned for next week's show.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Gift Tracing, Think Multifamily, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeonaire.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.